Welcome back to Elevate from Burnout to Bliss. I'm your host, Reginald Clark, certified financial planner and CEO of P3 Financial Group.
And I'm Ebony Clark, tax strategist and COO of P3 Financial Group.
And today we're tackling a topic that got the whole country buzzing.
The government shutdown. But we're not talking politics. We're talking possibility. Because while most people see crisis, the smart ones see opportunity.
That's right, Ebony. History shows that some of the biggest businesses, wealth strategies, and financial breakthroughs are born during times of disruption.
So in today's episode, we're breaking down how to spot opportunity when the economy slows down, how to pivot your skills and side hustles into profit, and how to position yourself to come out stronger than ever.
If you're ready to shift your mindset from panic to power, this episode's for you.
Let's dive into opportunity and disruption, what smart entrepreneurs and investors see in a shutdown.
All right, y'all, we're back in here again. So as we mentioned in the introduction, today we're going to talk about what's on the mind of a whole lot of people out there, and that is the government shutdown. Now, I'm going to say real quick, and I've said it before in previous episodes, our platform is not one that's a political episode. Some politic talk may come up, but it's not, that's not our lane. Mm-hmm. What we're going to be talking about primarily for our audience is we're going to be talking about mindset and not focusing in on the fear, seeing opportunities and things of that nature. Because one thing that the biggest, and we're going to talk about it more in just a little bit, but the biggest disruption that happened in all of our lifetime, if you hear, I don't care how old you are, that was the pandemic. And there were a lot of new businesses that came forward.
A whole lot.
That came, man. So that's the part that we're going to focus on today. So, again, go ahead.
And even if we mention politics, it's going to be from a factual standpoint, right? Because the effects of whatever laws, legislation, bills, political efforts are going on, not necessarily our opinion one way or another. Yeah. But we can't circumvent it because it affects our daily lives.
Exactly. But again, so rather than focusing on fear and instability, what we're talking about is focusing on resilience, creativity, and positioning yourself financially to take advantage of what may be opportunity that's hidden inside of crisis.
So I'm going to go ahead and give you our 3 segments today so you'll know what to look forward to. So segment 1, we're just going to talk about understanding the shutdown and its ripple effects. Give you some definitions. There may be some terms that we'll go over that you want to get a clear understanding of. Segment 2, we're going to talk about opportunity and disruption from an entrepreneurial lens.
Right.
And then in segment 3, we're going to talk about turning insight into action and how to position yourself for what's next.
Okay. So Ed mentioned, segment 1, she said we're going to do
understanding the shutdown.
So let's talk about that. So people know shutdown has happened. People know that the government is shut down, but what does that actually mean and how we get there? Mm-hmm. So here's the biggest takeaway I think you need to get from that. The government operates its finances in such a horrible position that it cannot continue to operate unless it borrows money. Mm-hmm. No one else can operate this way. Just think about it. If the only way you could pay your bills is by borrowing more money, then you are essentially bankrupt. No, you are bankrupt, right? But because when, the budget, I think the last president to balance the budget, and I know somebody going to fact check me on this, but I want to say it was Bill Clinton. I think he was the last president to balance the budget. Now, that's not the same as saying the debt was paid off. That's not what that means. What that means is in that year that he balanced the budget, the government was set to spend equal to what it was going to take in. Mm-hmm. But before then and since then, the government always spending more than what it actually takes in. That deficit every year adds to the debt. And now, check it out, now we're $37 trillion in debt. 37, that's like if that's enough debt for every man, woman, boy, and girl in the country to owe at least $100,000. It take everybody to pay that, $100,000. But anyway,
so I'm going to go ahead and fact check you.
Go ahead.
And you were right. So the federal budget ran a surplus for 4 consecutive years during Clinton's presidency from 98 to 2001.
Okay.
That was the last time that the budget has been balanced. And that was the first time that the budget had been balanced since 1969.
Wow. So Anyway, thank you for the fact check. I thought I remembered that. So basically, what has happened? So where we are right now, because both sides of Congress can agree on a lot of different stuff. They have to sign off and say, okay, we can borrow more money. So right now, until they come to agreement on all these different topics, they're not collectively signing off on borrowing more money to allow the government to operate, because the government has to borrow this money to be able to pay all the different things, including people that's going to work, including all this different stuff to be able to operate. So right now it's gridlock. They can't borrow more money until they come to an agreement to say, hey, let's go deeper in debt so that we can continue to operate.
And this has been going on since October 1st.
Since October 1st. And this is not the longest. The longest shutdown happened, actually, I think, 2019. It was 35 days.
Yep. Right now we're at the second longest, but we'll see.
Okay, so Ebony, tell us more about what exactly, who does it affect, just give us some more, because, again, the general person, especially in an area where you take somewhere like D.C. where so much stuff is federally operated at the local level, they understand it way better than we may in our neck of the woods.
So, and we're going to go over a few ways that a government shutdown affects the community, because like Reggie said, a lot of people may not know all of the services that are affected. But any federal service, they will start to slow down or stop. That can include delays in processing passports, small business loans through the SBA.
Hold on, let's say something about that. Well, not just process small business loans, but you can't get them on the phone. Remember, we tried to call them a couple weeks ago because an issue that we have, no one's answering the phone now. So in a very practical sense, I have felt this shutdown because it's a specific answer I need that I can't get right now. Yep. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And federal loans. Then also things like national parks and museums can close because they're funded by the government. Federal workers and contractors are affected. There are some essential workers that still report to work but may not get paid until the shutdown ends. And then non-essential workers are furloughed. So they're out of work and unpaid right now, which can really impact local economies because when people make money, they spend it.
Right.
So it may not, Joe Blow's pizza shop may not be directly affected by the shutdown. But if they are by the military base and a lot of people aren't working, now that affects their sales.
Absolutely. And I think, did you say the number of how many federal workers?
I did not.
I can tell you 700,000 workers have been furloughed and, about that many of them without pay. So you talk about that many people not receiving income. Right. That can't help but have a ripple effect across the country.
As well as restaurants, shops, businesses, landlords, all of those, child care providers, all of those people in industries can be affected. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the SNAP program.
Right.
SNAP program and school meals, they can keep running for a short period of time, but if it drags out, those funds are exhausted.
Well, that time has run out. So October's funding happened because it was already in the system.
Right.
But I've seen more than one report that states that unless the shutdown opens back up or some sort of emergency measure happens, then November SNAP benefits are in jeopardy.
Right, right.
So you talk plainly put. People that rely on food stamps may not receive them in November. Okay?
And as far as the furloughed and contract workers, the furloughed employees, if they are an actual W-2 employee, they most likely will get back pay once the government opens back up. But if you're a federal contractor, you will not get paid for the time missed. That's just money that you don't get. So we're thinking it's just the time period has been 23 days now. I mean, that's almost a month of some of these federal contractors not receiving a paycheck.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. So again, when you're thinking about, all the people, the different services and the things not opening, but from a very practical sense, what happens is at federal, local, state level, there's less money going around. And that ultimately disrupts the economy. $15 billion a week is being lost in GDP.
Wow.
Now, the last time this happened, the economy shrugged it off. The next few months, we boomed out. And to date, I'll say this, to date, the stock market has kind of shrugged this whole thing off. And it usually does that with the anticipation that, things will be back open soon. And of course, that's what we all hope. However, again, just kind of want to let you all know what a shutdown is, how you get to that point, and now what it takes to. I'm going to tell you one thing I do want to say. Okay. One thing, and this is going to be slightly political. Well, this is political. But what bothers me the most about a shutdown, I don't care what particular party is in power. What bothers me the most is that the president, all the members of Congress continue to get paid.
They do.
That bothers me. They should have to forego their money until it's worked out.
Right.
That's just my way of thinking on that. I mean, because you got all the other federal workers who have to deal with this. A friend of mine was telling me that he's a federal worker. He was telling me that you get a letter, they give them a letter to give to their creditors. Now, the creditor's not bound. There's no law to say they got to accept this.
Exactly.
I think we're landlords, and thankfully the VA right now their housing is continuing to be paid. But I was thinking about it. What if all of our tenants presented letters to us saying, "Hey, can't pay. Here's a letter from the government saying, I'll be able to pay once they start back paying me."
Right.
Well, we can't turn around and
take that same letter
to the mortgage holder. Exactly. Yeah, so I mean, it's a ripple effect, man. So anyway.
And then that mortgage company can't turn around and take that to the bank that's funding the mortgage company. I mean, at some point, somebody got to deal with the fact that the money's not there. Exactly.
So with all of this going on, guys, the bottom line is this disruption that we're talking about today, primarily brought on by this shutdown. In the midst of disruption, there is opportunity, but you have to look for it. And that's where this episode is going. We just kind of want to lay the groundwork of how we got here. But in the middle of disruption, there's opportunity.
There is. So, Reggie, let me ask you this. Why do you think so many people freeze during crisis when other people find their biggest opportunities?
I think many people freeze up. It goes back to training and mindset. Many people, so from the beginning of, you go back to your earliest development, all the way back to elementary school, again, you're taught to follow the crowd, stay in line, dress like everybody else, don't ask stupid questions or what have you. So we're all taught to just go along. We're all taught to get in line with this train and just move forward as the train moves forward. So what happens is when it looks like that whole thing's coming off the track, most people don't know what to do because they haven't been taught to think. All right. So people that think and take a step back and see when a crisis happens, holes open up. Different holes, and we're going to talk about it, but different holes open up. And some people see the need, the hole that was missing, and then they move in to fill it. While other people throw their hands in the air and just say, Lord help me.
Our lives are so based on routines, and we've been taught that way, like you said, from inception, that it's hard when people's routines are thrown off. If they're used to going to work at a certain time, picking up kids, eating at a certain time, taking a certain route to and from different places, and now that stops for whatever reason, or it's really hard for some people to pivot.
It really is. So when you talk about pivoting, what's one of the areas where you've seen some professionals, not just entrepreneurs, but some professionals get stuck, and what shifts their mindset from fear to focus? So
one way is with meeting style or being able to use technology. Yeah. So things are just different now. And a lot of that happened during COVID, but there are so many things that you can get done virtually or remotely now. Not everything should be done that way. So as a professional, you have to be able to adjust with that time. I don't want to sit in an hour meeting if it could be a 15-minute Zoom.
Right.
So that's one way.
It is, and I was having this conversation earlier this week, and I was saying every business, and I guess when you think about it, if you run your life as a business, has to innovate or die. And what happens is innovation typically happens over time anyway. But in times of crisis, it forces innovation to happen much more rapidly.
It does.
And that's what we saw happen with COVID. Because even with our own business, what we figured out was we didn't need the same number of work hours each week to operate efficiently.
Right.
We learned that we didn't have to have every meeting in person.
Right.
We learned a whole lot about our own business. We were able to just scale back, get way more done, and, grow and innovate because of a forced crisis. So That's what I think that, even professionals, for you guys that you may not be an entrepreneur, but you're a professional, running your life as a business, you need to see what innovations you need to make to your life, even right now.
And that can be personally or professionally.
Absolutely. I tell you what, anything else, or not anything else, the rest of the stuff, we're going to push it off to the next segment. So I don't want to feel too rushed. But y'all, stay with us when we get back after the break. We're going to be talking about
opportunity and disruption from an entrepreneurial lens.
So if chaos and uncertainty are actually fertile grounds for opportunity, where should smart entrepreneurs and investors be looking right now? Let's unpack that after the break. Guys, remember, it's time to elevate.
Hey, Elevate fam. Are you a business or brand looking to get in front of an audience that's all about leveling up in life, business, and mindset? Then let's partner up. The Elevate podcast is now accepting sponsors. That means you can get your brand heard by a growing community of go-getters, creatives, and purpose-driven listeners right here on the show. Whether it's a product shout-out, an ad spot, or a custom collaboration, we've got options for you. Want in? Hit us up at elevatenowtraining.com. Let's elevate together. And we're back. This is the Elevate Podcast with Reggie and Ebony, and today we are talking about the government shutdown and the disruption that it causes. But specifically, instead of focusing on the fear and uncertainty, we want to focus on the opportunities that it can create. So, Reggie, when you hear shutdown, most people think fear, but entrepreneurs like us and others, we tend to see something else. So what do you see?
Well, I do want to say something real quickly about the fear part before we move on. It's a scary time. It can be a scary time, especially depending on, what you've been, I guess I should say what it is that you're planning on sustaining you, right? So if you haven't done any of these things that we've been talking about for, months on this podcast, if you haven't put anything in place and all you're relying on is the economy to hold you up, then I understand the fear.
Yeah.
But what we want to do, so I do want to say, if you are fearful right now, I guess that's a normal response. But what I'm hoping is that if you have not already joined those of us who are trying to do something in addition to maybe your job or whatever the case may be, that now you will make that jump, that transition. So, but what do I see? So, when things are in chaos, when the crowd's going crazy, confidence dips, spending typically slows down, scared money don't move. But what history has shown, though, is that innovation often spikes during economic disruption. And that's going to be a word you probably hear us talk about the remainder of the episode, is innovation, pivoting. It's all the same thing. Oftentimes during periods of crisis, that begins to spike. Now,
that's true.
Yeah, it does. Now, what a lot of people don't know, what you may or may not know, check it out now, half of Fortune 500 companies started during periods of crisis.
Okay, I believe that. So with that being said,
I just shared that. I didn't make it up.
I know you didn't make it up.
Okay, go ahead.
But I'm saying, with that being said, I was thinking about some other businesses that kind of started in the middle of disruption. Uber was one of them. It started with the transportation chaos, and Airbnb. There was a travel slump, and Airbnb kind of started there, and now it's completely transformed lodging and hotel space.
Absolutely. So I was going to share a couple of other companies in the Fortune 5 that started during particular crisis. Fortune magazine started 90 days after the market crash of 29. FedEx actually started in 1973 during the oil crisis. Just a couple of more. Hewlett-Packard started in the Great Depression. Standard Oil, that you all may not recognize Standard Oil name, but you recognize Rockefeller. Well, he was able to buy out all of his partners in what became Standard Oil in 1865 because of, obviously, definitely a crisis, Civil War. But what happens is, guys, cooler heads prevail. It's kind of like what Warren Buffett always says. When other people are selling, he's buying. When everybody else is buying, he's selling, because going against the crowd, taking a step back, that's how you're able to recognize opportunities, because most people are just going to move.
Right.
The herd is moving. Smart people take a step back and see, okay, where are the missing pieces? what can I fill in to generate some wealth?
Right. What problem can I solve now?
There you go. What problem can I solve right now? Mm-hmm. And so I want to say this as well. If you're listening intently, waiting on us to give you a specific idea of what you can do to, go out and create millions of dollars, that's probably not going to happen.
No.
That's probably not going to happen. But what we are hoping to do is that lead you to a path where you will open up your mind, do your own thinking, and see where the opportunities lie. Because I promise you, they are there.
Right. And perspective matters. And that's what we're talking about, shifting your perspective during a disruption. And instead of avoiding uncertainty, manage it.
Right. That's it. That's a great word. I like that, manage it.
Because disruption, it reveals gaps.
Right. So let me ask you this. That being said, have you, Ebony, seen any specific gaps? And I know, and this is kind of helping people go down the road of, okay, what should I be thinking about? Have you seen any specific gaps that tend to open up when government activity slows down?
Yes, definitely. So some are public service type of community service type of space. So that's your food banks, extra need for just support to the community because there are more people who are in need. Mm-hmm. So with that, there may be private sector grants. And anytime there's a government shutdown or the government resources slows down, the gap is for the private sector to rise up in between.
That's exactly right.
So even with transportation and logistics, it may not be with the government anymore, but now there's an opportunity for someone in the private sector to come in and fill that need.
And sometimes when those things move to the private sector, if they do a good enough job at it, it never goes back to the public sector.
Right.
Yeah.
And usually that creates more price competition and can drive prices down.
And there have been situations where what used to be in the government sector went private, and then the government became a client or customer of the private entity. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
technology is another one. With the government being slowed down or a lot of employees furloughed, there's less people providing oversight.
Right.
So that opens the space for kind of a create now, regulate later type thing with technology. So a lot of people can get products and services out faster if they don't have to worry about the government oversight right now.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to share a story with you guys about, again, how we navigated our company through the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Well, we were essential. What we did had to get done. We couldn't tell clients they couldn't, get their money and all that kind of thing. So, but what we did do, because obviously we didn't, people weren't coming into the office. We came every day. We had already, now this is 5 years ago now. Mm-hmm. Praise God. We're 5 years out from that. But back then, Zoom was out. It was already out, but it wasn't a household like it is now.
Exactly.
And, coincidentally, I had just gotten a Zoom account, barely used it, barely touched it. Well, we were early adopters into moving our business. Very quickly, we transitioned to moving all of our meetings to Zoom. We did our seminars that way. We did our meetings that way. And what we found was that, the meeting time was cut down probably by 75%. Yeah. We were able to work in more meaningful meetings and touch points with clients than we had been in the physical space.
Exactly.
Because in the physical space, average meeting may take, hour and a half. On Zoom, everybody's trying to get on and get off so they can get on to something else. So just by adding that piece, and then we added some more technology pieces that allowed us to be able to, for clients to be able to see all their accounts in one spot. So anyway, we just kept adding these different pieces, things that we used to do in the physical space. We said, okay, now how do we do this virtually? And I'm telling you, 99% of that stuff we're still doing now, with physical coming back on, and it was great. It cut costs, sped and boosted production. So again, innovation. You either innovate or you die.
And another thing that it did, it created greater collaboration because a lot of times if we're meeting with a family, a husband and wife, trying to coordinate our schedules as well as the husband and the wife's schedules would be challenging. So sometimes we would just meet with one, but being able to do it in Zoom, all of us can be in different places and we still got it done. And I'll just say when technology comes your way, disruption or not, evaluate it and embrace it at the time. To Reggie's point, on my side, the tax and accounting side, we had already started having an online client portal before the pandemic. So we were already well versed in it and knew how to use it. So when the pandemic came, that part we already had done. It wasn't a learning curve for clients to be able to get us their documents virtually.
Exactly. So, again, now our business wasn't born in the pandemic, but I'm telling you, our revenues definitely increased because of the pandemic. And I'm definitely not saying that was a good thing. However, it did, again, depending on perspective, and that's what we're talking about today, how you look at a situation, how you as a thriving entrepreneur, a thriving investor, you need to have a different lens, a different scope at the same picture that someone else is looking at.
Right.
Where they see chaos, you see opportunities. That's what we're talking about. So, Ebony, got another question for you.
Okay.
In your experience, what actually differentiate those who survive uncertainty and those who profit from it?
Those who... Now say it one more time.
What differentiates, as far as you know, those who survive in uncertainty from those who actually... See, it's a difference between surviving. You just make it through it, from those who actually profit from it.
I know we keep harping on this word, but mindset. So surviving is using the mindset, what do I need to make it through?
Right.
Profiting is, what do I need to make this better? That's your answer. And if you're listening and you ever said things like things just aren't how they used to be, that's your cue. That's an opportunity staring you in the face for you to find out what you can do differently.
Okay, I want to shift the conversation a little bit. I want to drive deeper before time gets away. So we've talked about the problem, it's a shutdown, but we talked about our perspective today. And the main thing there is the mind shift, the lens that you're going to use. But I want to get down to what we call opportunity zones, right? So helping people identify the signs of where the opportunities lie.
So the opportunities that I want you all to look for in the opportunity zone, the first one are problems that multiply. So what are some problems that are suddenly bigger or more urgent during an economic downturn or government shutdown like we're currently in? Well,
it hadn't happened yet, which is good, but some things that could happen, some problems that could multiply. Of course, we're talking about there's a possibility people might not have their SNAP benefits next month. That could be a huge problem. People, losing jobs. So you're talking about people needing to do things with their retirement account or access income from those accounts. These are problems that suddenly get big. Matter of fact, I talked to somebody just yesterday who was just recently laid off from international paper. Her and I were talking about decisions she has to make with her retirement account. So these are things that start to happen as the government, shut down or the economy continues to slow down.
Right. So another thing that I want you to look for are systems that break. So when old systems no longer work, like education, healthcare, logistics, somebody has got to rebuild them. That somebody can be you, and that's where innovation thrives.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the third one is habits that shift. So consumers are creatures of habit. We do the same thing all the time. So and we're like that until we are forced to change. So those new habits can create fresh markets for someone to take advantage of.
Yeah.
Think about things like meal kits.
Okay.
So when people are
that's interesting. Okay.
busier, more on the go, don't want to get out, or even how we grocery shop nowadays. If you forget something, you can go on Instacart, and whether it's groceries or a pair of leggings from Target, and have them delivered to your house. So that was innovation that thrived based on consumers' new habits of wanting things to come to them instead of going out to get them.
So I'm going to tell you this, when we were in New Orleans last week, I saw, we passed a construction site, and I saw this lady pull up, and she pulled up in it may have been like a Honda Accord. She went she didn't have a food truck. She pulled up, and she had her trunk was probably maybe about a fourth of the way full with these to-go containers. And she put them in a big bag. This one guy from the construction site came up and paid her, and she got her money and pulled straight on off. So clearly she had this all together. may have come. It didn't look like she was part of a hotel. A restaurant. I think she was just an entrepreneur. Saw opportunity. Hey, all these guys out here, I'm sure they want food brought right to them. Boom, there it is.
And what it's created is more efficiency with our time. So being able to get things to you, that's time that you didn't spend driving.
Exactly.
So it's just, you really have to look at technology and how you can use technology to your advantage. And for those who are looking to fill in these holes, just all you got to do is look around.
Yep. You got to remember this, you all. People pay, so you want to start a business. Remember this, people pay for one of three things. Something they don't know how to do, something they don't have the time to do, or something they don't want to do themselves. That's really the only three things we pay for.
That's true.
So whatever you're thinking about, if it fits one of those three things, if it fits all of them, boy, you're really cooking. But if it fits one of those three, you're going to make some money. We're going to pause right here. We're going to put everything else on the back end. When we get back, we're going to talk about turning insight into action.
Okay.
How do we put all this into action? Well, we can make us some money, and then we can all elevate. Stay with us through the breaks. We'll be right back.
Today's episode is sponsored by P3 Financial Group, where we enrich the lives of our clients by helping them plan, protect, and prosper. Call P3 for all your tax and financial planning needs at 901-209-4015. That's 901-209-4015.
And we are back. We are back for this last segment of the Elevate podcast today, Ebony and Reggie, and we've been talking about the government shutdown and the opportunity that lies therein. You know what? One of the things we said right before we went into the break was that in this final segment, we want to be sure that we give you some action items, some things you can do to turn insight into action. How can you move from just an idea to, you know what, now's the time I take this leap? So one of the things I want to tell you right off the bat first, remember, you always have to have your anchor secure before you take a jump, all right? Yes. You want to be sure. So specifically, what am I talking about? I'm talking about you want to be sure that you've looked at your cash reserves, that you looked at your overall debt picture, that you want to know how long your runway is yourself if your income should be cut off. So it's definitely if you still have a job, you're thinking about doing this, let's take our first look at where you are positioning yourself. Then based on that, then, we're going to go ahead and launch, right? So that's going to be step one. Step two that I want to say is these days you don't have to start real big.
You don't.
You really don't. Starting small is very, very feasible. Everybody knows the adage, it takes money to make money, and that's true. But one thing I can say about here in 2025, it don't take nearly as much as it used to. As a matter of fact, I saw recently a survey where over 52% of the people that have started businesses recently started with less than $10,000.
Oh, wow.
And of those, they had less than $5,000 on hand opening day.
Man.
So, because think about it. People can work in the digital space, so you're not all this overhead on offices. And
exactly.
Your branding, you ain't got to pay, you can still pay people who are very gifted at, brand, but making marketing pieces and things like that. But there's templates out there can make me look like I know what I'm doing. And that's just not my lane.
And then
a
lot of times from an equipment standpoint, all you need is your computer.
Yeah.
So, and everything else is at your fingertips because of all the different cloud solutions and software.
Yep. So let me give you a couple of platforms that'll help out. So things like Canva, I'm sure some of y'all familiar with that, Wix, Starter Suite. These are things that can make your branding very simple, all right? If you're looking for money, micro-funding sites like Kickstarter or other crowdfunding sources.
Other crowdfunding, yeah.
Yeah.
So I came across a list of 29 successful online businesses that started during a recession.
Okay.
And these are businesses that have become household names or you use on a daily basis. And they were started during a recession at a time where people didn't just have money freely to go around to start these businesses. So one, you may not have actually heard of the name. It's Okta. I guess that's how you pronounce it.
Spell it for me, please.
I am. OKTA.
Actually, I've seen that.
You've seen it, right. I have no idea how to pronounce it. You don't know what they... So what they did is really kind of cool. They really don't provide anything other than authentication. I'm about to tell you, in our business, there's certain websites that we log into, and it's a token by them that allows us to log in.
Oh, that's why I've seen it.
So they're not the end user like us. They're not the software company. They're in between, just giving us a token to make sure that the person that's supposed to be logging in is logging in.
I have seen, okay.
And they started in 2009 and had a $6 billion valuation back in 2017.
Gee, weird.
Airbnb started in 2008. We know about the housing crash.
Right.
And around that time, and they had a $31 billion valuation some years ago. Other things like Bitly, that's the a competitor to TinyURL.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I've seen that before.
Let's see some other Uber. There's so many Groupon. That definitely... With Groupon, just think about that. We're talking about businesses that were started during a recession. So in economic downturn, they saw an opportunity for wanting to be able to get people products and experiences at a discount.
Yeah.
Because they're buying it in bulk. They're buying it as a group and selling it to us individually. And it's like a coupon. Hence Groupon.
Yeah.
So they really did take what we were talking about in the earlier segments, looking for a hole to see how they can fill a need.
And they did just that.
Yep.
Okay. So, again, we want to give you our action items. So here's another one right here. And I just want to, if I'm following the logic, when the economy slows down, the way the government stimulates the economy back is by lowering interest rates, because you make money less expensive to borrow. Well, you think about that. If money is less, when interest rates go down, ultimately that brings mortgage rates down as well, and then there's a brand new flood of buyers going into the housing market. Right now, I do want to say this. Right now, middle class America, there's a lot of people on the sidelines just itching, on the housing sidelines, just itching to get back in or get in for the first time and be a homeowner. There's a lot of pent-up demand there because they've just been priced out. Rates have been, hovering around 7%, 7.5%. People just cannot, it's just making more sense for a lot more people to rent. But as these rates continue to trickle downward, there's going to be a flood of people that want to be homeowners. Well, you know what? If you're in a position to build a house now or houses and be ready to sell them to this flood of people that will most likely enter the market,
right,
due to lower rates caused by a falling economy.
Because like you said, they've been waiting. They had an idea in their head of how much house they wanted for this amount of money.
Right.
And then when interest rates went up, they couldn't get anywhere near that. So they're just waiting. Yeah,
because, at the end of the day, there's a certain price point a person's not going to pay for a mortgage in a certain area.
Right.
That's just it just is what it is. So they say, well, okay, I'd rather rent and wait till that changes and then I'll get what I want. So if you're in a position to, put together inventory of homes in anticipation, there's some risk there. There's going to be some risk in whatever you do.
Right.
But if you have that ability to do that, then hey, now's the time to acquire something or build something and then be ready for the buyers as they come into the market, because I do believe they're coming.
Definitely. So another action item would be to, whatever you're going to do, whether it's on your own, as a side hustle, integrate AI into it.
Definitely.
That can dramatically increase your productivity. Because, of course, we're talking about the government shutdown. We've said over 700,000 people are furloughed right now. So hopefully they will be going back to work, but there's still something that needs to be done right now. So if they start a side hustle right now, you want to make sure that once the government opens back up and you go back to work, it's something you can still maintain. And AI is the best way to get that done, because it can, the efficiency, it is so many things that it can do for you. The
efficiency and the low overhead. A good friend of mine, very successful business owner, he would tell you AI is like his silent business partner, and he said AI is really outpacing his main administrator, is becoming AI now. So he's looking at the person he's paying like, I don't know. But anyway.
And part of the challenge of a disruption is that it's a disruption, and it's you don't know how long that disruption is going to last.
You don't.
So you're trying to balance what you need to do now to survive and then thrive with what the future looks like. Because a lot of times these disruptions may be short-lived, but we still need to do something. So again, AI is a good bridge for that. As you're looking for a hole to fill or a gap to plug in, definitely integrate AI so that you can still have that time going forward.
Yeah, and to go back to what you said earlier, Ebony, I think you said something about embracing technology early on. So if you have a business, and we did a whole show we dedicated, or a good portion of a show one time, to AI. If you have a business already or you're considering it, you absolutely have to have artificial intelligence in the mix. If you do not, you are falling behind. Pure and simple. Because it's going to help you. Man, it's going to help you get your data together across all your spectrums, from your marketing, your service, your sales, your commerce, all of that. It's going to be able to automate things. It's going to be able to it's just going to be working for you when you're not working. And that's the whole goal. So you got to add AI to the mix, man, because and the main thing is that it can automate and do those routine things on a very efficient basis that you would have to pay someone to do. And it just makes all the difference in the world.
I saw an ad this morning. I don't know what it was called, but every morning this AI agent scans your email, categorizes them to what's important, what's not important, what needs a response, and then generates draft responses back. And so all you have to do is review those. Do you know how much time that saves?
That's crazy. Yep.
So we're going to give you one more action item, and that is collaboration.
Yeah, I think we got time to get this one in. So as you're thinking about launching into the deep, going into business for yourself, one thing, when she mentions collaboration, what comes to my mind is looking for those spaces where, not that you're going in business with a partner, which you may do that too, but finding a business that's complementary to your business, and you all can do some collaboration together. For instance, let's say your business, maybe you're in the mortgage space, and you want to collab with somebody that has an independent tax preparation company, and maybe y'all can share foot traffic, or maybe you selling cinnamon rolls, and you want to collab with somebody that has some sort of drink that goes well with cinnamon rolls. So y'all, do some pop-up shops together, what have you. Finding people where we can share, where you can share customers with, clients with, foot traffic. You can bring down, overhead costs together. Just doing collaborations. It don't mean you signing no deals together. You're not putting, it may come to that, but you don't have to put anything on paper. Say, hey, let's hook up and do X.
Right.
Maybe a marketing event together, or whatever the case may be. Just finding those opportunities where you can collaborate with somebody that you have a complementary business
right
with.
And even barter. There may be two businesses that offer services that they each need,
right?
And now, especially now in a situation where there's some uncertainty, then that's services exchanged or products exchanged versus cash money exchange, and both still get what they need. Absolutely. So guys, I tell you what, we better go ahead and switch it over now. Just kind of recap this episode before time gets away from it. So again, what we talked about today was the fact that we're in, I think now it's the third week of the shutdown. It is.
Of course, it's not the longest one yet, but it's inching up on it. Hopefully this thing will end very soon. But whether this shutdown ends tomorrow, whether it ends, whenever it ends, what we want you to know is that the main point of this particular episode is that there is opportunity in chaos, okay? And it all depends on the lens that you look at the situation with. Yeah, so also keep in mind, disruption creates demand. That's another thing we talked about today. Innovation rises in chaos. We talked about that. Profit comes from playing offense, you all. While other people are freezing, proactive business owners, they're keeping their marketing going, they're keeping negotiating going, they're building relationships. Everybody else freezing, twiddling their thumbs and sitting around. Proactive people are making it happen. Remember, serve, don't sell. Just, again, continue to build those relationships. The most effective entrepreneurs lead with empathy. Lord knows that's missing. That is so missing in this world today. Also, remember, every shutdown, every recession, depression, they all have one thing in common.
What's that?
They all ended. So be prepared for the rebound. Position yourself now for the rebound. That's what I was saying about the housing thing. That's just a suggestion. Actually, and I'll be honest with you, that's one that I'm doing. I'm putting an inventory of homes together so as people enter the market, I'll have something to sell them. All right. So remember, whatever we go through is going to end. Brighter days are coming. So position yourself for the rebound.
Yeah. So we have enjoyed this episode with y'all, but it is time for us to get out of here. Remember, you can always catch us at Elevate Now Podcast on YouTube. This is our second season, so you can go back and listen to all of our episodes. And then if you would like to contact me or Reggie individually, we are, I'm at Eb the Advisor, EBTHEADVISOR on social media platforms. And Reggie is the Money Jedi, MONEYJEDI.
All right, let's give them a number to the office, too. You can always catch us at the office, 901-209-4015. Y'all, we're going to get out your way. Be back with you again this time next week on Power 104 FM The Source. We out, and remember, it's time to elevate.